Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Today I have a new album review for you from the band A Day to Remember. The album is called You're Welcome. And before I begin, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. So let me start by saying that this is a band that is new to me. So before this album came out, I wanted to get a feeling of how the band sounded. So I listened to a random playlist on my streaming service, and let me just tell you that I really liked what I heard. This band has a really unique sound, and it's a perfect blending of metalcore with these like heavy riffs and crushing breakdowns, and mixed with this like pop punk with these like catchy melodies, memorable choruses, and really good songwriting. You know, I haven't heard any of their previous albums in full, but I do know that they have put out 7 albums over the course of 16 years, so they have been pretty consistent. Well, at least until now, that is. So before I proceed, keep in mind that I'm reviewing this album from the perspective of a metalhead, and I'm someone who's new to the band. I am not an expert on music. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. So please keep that in consideration, before you post your comments. If you disagree with anything I say, that's fine. I am willing to listen to your recommendations. I usually engage in conversations in the comments section. So I do encourage you to leave your comments, but just keep that in mind. These are my opinions, and I'm just giving you my perspective on this particular album. So with that being said, this is a fairly weak album. If you watch some of the other channels, you probably noticed a lot of negative reviews for the album. I tend to be a positive person. I usually look for like the good in things. So I will say that there are a few moments on the album that I liked, but overall I felt this album was kind of like all over the place. This album is 5 years in the making, and it was supposed to be released in like late 2019, but COVID happened and everything got pushed back, and the whole story. So this album was finally released on March 5th, 2021. So what I understand is that the band wanted to change their sound to reflect the current music scene. But the problem is that this album, it does not really have any focus. Some songs are heavy, some songs sound like Imagine Dragons or Ed Sheeran or country music. Now, I'm someone who likes an album with a lot of variety because it keeps it interesting. But this sounds like it's just a big mix of bands like Slayer or Bowling for Soup and Green Day and Taylor Swift. Let me also mention that many of these tracks have already been released previously. The first single was released back in like August of 2019, and another 4 songs were released prior to this album's release date. So the album opens with the song Brick Wall, and I actually like this song. Many other channels had like negative things to say about it, but I thought it was pretty good. It starts out as a pop song. The main riff, it's like really like heavy and crushing. It reminds me of like an old like Nirvana song that kind of like has that like shifting from like the light to heavy. The sound of it even reminded me of like early 90s Ministry with like this slight industrial metal edge. The second song is called Mind Reader, and this song is okay. It's a straightforward pop punk song. The guitar work is decent, and I don't really have too much to complain about it. Next is Bloodsucker, and I think this is where the album really takes a dip. It's just generic, modern pop song. It might sound good coming from a band like Imagine Dragons, but this is not the type of band that, they were known for. Like, they were not known for this type of music. After that is Last Chance to Dance, Bad Friend. And the album kind of like gets heavy again. It shifts towards that like extreme metalcore mixed with like the pop. Now I do like the heavy parts, like the riff was really good. It was heavy and crushing, but I didn't really think the song like as a whole worked very well. And at this point in the album, there's like a lot of filler. Probably the worst song on the album was called Viva La Mexico. And the lyrics about guys going to Mexico to get wasted. And when the chorus comes on, like they sing it, and they sing Viva La Mexico. And if you've taken a basic Spanish class, you would know that the correct pronunciation is Mexico and not Mexico. That is when you're speaking Spanish. So, I mean, they could have at least checked the proper pronunciation on Google Translate before recording the song. They even talk about like hiding from the federales. And, you know, I mean, the Mexican federal police does not really care about a bunch of American tourists getting drunk. I mean, they have other things to worry about. So there's really like no point in that song. And after that, there's another song called Degenerates, and that was like pretty good actually. It's a well-crafted pop punk song, has a pretty memorable chorus, some pretty fun lyrics. Another song, Permanent, it was a pretty good song. It reminded me a little of Green Day, and I would think it's probably one of the stronger tracks on the album. And the album ends with Everything We Need. And I think like some of the other channels had a lot of like negative things to say about it, but I actually thought it was kind of catchy. It's an acoustic driven pop song, and it wasn't too bad of an album closer. I think it's one of those like sing-along songs that would probably sound pretty good like in a live setting. So that is it. In conclusion, I give this album a 6 out of 10, and that's probably the lowest I've ever given an album, but you know, I went into it with an open mind, and I did find some decent songs. It was just very unfocused, had a lot of filler. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think of this album? And if you disagree with me, hey, that's fine. You know, we all have our personal preferences in music. So thank you for watching. There are some other new releases that I have done reviews for. They'll be linked right there. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.